hit it and quit it, be out of there kind of thing. But I started with using Princeton Review. I want to say I started studying maybe, it was well in advance, but when I say started studying, it wasn't like intense or anything. Me and my sister used to, we get off of work, come home, do a chapter in the book, and then like answer the practice questions at the end. And that would be our studying for the whole day. So it usually took like maybe an hour at most. And that's just because the questions were multiple choice, and then they had passage based with Princeton Review, which I appreciated because that's how the MCAT is set up. It's all passage based. So you have quite a bit of reading to do before you even get to the question that they're trying to ask. I also use Khan Academy. Most people don't think about using that for the MCAT, but they have a whole section on the MCAT, which if you have any sections that you're rusty on or you're just not getting yourself, they do a really good job of breaking concepts down. Even with the reading comprehension section, like they have a whole section just to like with test taking strategies to help you get through those passages. And they of course have questions at the end that go with it. And I can't stress it enough how important practice questions are for the MCAT. Like most people go in and they do all this reading by all these books and just read. But what I've learned closer to the end, that nothing is more valuable than those questions. Another big, task with the MCAT is being able to sit and take a test for that long. I don't know, this year I know it's a little different, but I'm expecting once this COVID pandemic is over, that is probably gonna go back to what it was before. And 7 hours is a long time to sit and take a test. And I didn't realize how much of like a mental standpoint that takes, like how you have to really be able to sit there through it. So taking full length practice tests are important. Also, one thing, I started 20 days before my test, I started this like strict schedule, which I wish I would have started sooner. So I'm going to share this with you guys. So what I did was, AMCAS has practice tests online, and also Princeton Review, Khan Academy, whatever you want to use, they usually come with free tests as well. So I purchased AMCAS practice test, and I used them as a question bank, which might sound weird. I didn't sit there and take them like full length like most people do. I would say, in a week's time for day one, I would do the biology section, and I would sit and go through completely as if I'm taking the test, no breaks, no distractions, go through that entire section. Then when I got to the end, I wouldn't even like look at my score. I'd take a break, 10, 15 minutes, just to get in the headspace to get ready to review. And then I'd come back and review what I got wrong. And that usually took hours, not because I missed like so many questions, but because whenever I'd go through, I'd meticulously pick out exactly what, the concept was and try to figure out why didn't I understand it. Was it because I didn't understand the way they were asking the question? Was it because I just flat out didn't know the information? Because getting a question wrong can tell you a lot about what you need to do moving forward. So I spend that time reviewing what I got wrong, and then I take another break, 10, 15 minutes, might go get something to eat, come right back to it, and then I'd start studying the material that I got wrong. And that would be day one of studying. Then day 2, 3, and 4 would be the same thing, except with the other sections. So I do that section, completely skip over the other ones, and you're going to see a 0, on the final score report, which, just ignore that. And then day 5, I usually take it easy. And I might do a little review over things that were complicated. And then day 6, I would take a complete, like start to finish practice test as if I was at the testing center. And then, yeah, that would be all I did for that day. Cause at that point, you're going to be tired. You just sat there and took a test for 7+ hours. You're going to be tired. And then the next day I do the same. I would, review things that I got wrong, go through, make sure I completely understood that concept. And that's when I really started to see my scores change on my practice tests. Because before I was doing way too much reading is what I found out. My scores weren't moving. I was getting frustrated. Like, I didn't know why I couldn't get, like, why I wasn't improving, because I was putting all this time in, reading, but it wasn't until I started doing those tests that way that I saw improvement in my scores. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did up until the test. The day before my test, I said I was going to study, but I didn't, like, because you don't want to get in your head and, like, you know how it is when you're about to take a test and then you're going over something and it's like, oh my God, I don't know this. Why don't I know this? Then you're freaking out, and you don't need that kind of energy before the test, because at that point, what you know is what you know. And to be honest, you're not going to learn much in a day. And I say take that with you to med school as well, because that's what I've learned here too. Like, there's no point in me staying up till 3-4 o'clock studying the day before a test, because if I don't know it, odds are I'm not going to know it at that point, like, it's not going to do anything for me. But yeah. Any questions or anything you guys want to know more about?
Well, so Ashley said a timeline. We can go to that question first.
What do you mean a timeline?
I guess she means like from when you started to, so when to start, when to, really kick it up into high gear, and then when to just take
right. I say, since you guys are still in school, honestly, I would not do any major studying. Like, it's okay to review and all that stuff, but honestly, I'm assuming most of y'all are like biology, chemistry, something in the science major. Is that correct? Kind of, sort of?
Yeah.
If you're not, then maybe it is time. You should hit those topics a little more, because you're not getting that covered in your classes for your major. But I say at least 3 to 6 months before your test is whenever you should have like a schedule in place of, this is what I'm going to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and make sure you follow it. You don't have to follow it to a T, because Lord knows I didn't. Like, some days I'd be like, I'm not studying biology for 3 hours today. I just can't, because I was also working full time. I was volunteering. There's so much you got to do to get your application to stand out. So realistically, you don't really get that much time to study, but you make do with what you can.
Right. How much did your actual classes help? Like, we take the basics of organic chem, basics of biology, and those types of things. Did you ever use what you actually learned in class and apply it, or did you just reteach yourself?
For the MCAT, okay. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I was not the best student. I really wasn't, which people find shocking when, I tell them I'm in medical school. I did not pay attention. I did enough to make it by. And I wish I would have paid attention and actually learned it then, because it comes up. It definitely comes up on the MCAT. Even like when I took biochem, they had us memorize the amino acids, right? And I'm thinking, this is tedious. Like, it's not going to matter. I'm not going to need it later in life, because when I'm not ever going to be able to Google the amino acids in real life, on the MCAT is when you can't do it. So, and it definitely comes up, like little things like that seem like busy work when you're in class. It definitely shows back up on the MCAT. But so for me, I had to reteach myself, because I didn't learn it back then. I did enough to get out of the class, and then it was like, whoop, out of my brain, you know?
Yeah. In terms of I know this is like more about MCAT, but in terms of your grades, like, did you have any, I mean, people call them like red flags, but did you have any C's or,
I had F's. I had F's on my transcript. I'm completely on multiple, not just one either, multiple F's on my transcript. I did not pass organic chemistry the first or second time that I took it. It took me 3 chances. Physics, I would get A's in the labs, but the class C's. Physics 1 and 2, I got C's.
I was like, this ain't for me. Like, I changed my whole major to psychology. I was done after I know that.
But just because you have those quote unquote red flags does not mean you can't get into medical school. You just have to show your strengths in other places. Because like I told you earlier, I took a gap year, but during that gap year, I was also enrolled in school. Like I was working, and then I decided to go back, do a post-bac program, take classes that were quote unquote harder than, the classes that I got bad grades in and did great. Like I think I finished with a 3.9 GPA with my post-bac program, and like undergrad, I probably finished with like a 3.1. I feel like it was barely above, the 3.0 that they say that you need, to get in. So there's definitely room for redemption. Don't let those quote unquote red flags, discourage you or make you feel like you can't do it, because I'm proof, you can do it.
That's awesome. Thank you. I needed that. Asia said, what post-bac program did you attend, and would you recommend it?
So mine wasn't a legit post-bac program. I enrolled at North Carolina Central University and basically made my own like schedule, because I was lucky enough to get a very nice advisor. And I applied. They have a pre-med post-bac program with like a whole like curriculum and things like that, but it's mainly like people that don't have science majors. Like you'll be taking like chem, gen bio, whatever, like those classes. And I was talking to her, and she was like, I don't want to enroll you in these classes because you've taken them. There's no reason to follow the curriculum, and there are other ways to show your competency. So she enrolled me in classes that were graduate level. They were like just 4,000 course level, like above 3,000 what you take in undergrad. And I took classes like cancer biology, things like that, and it helped. Like it was very useful in like learning time management skills, critical thinking. Nothing I've used since I've been out of those classes, other than bioethics. You get a class like that, you have to take it in medical school. It helps. Oh, someone said I'm breaking up. Can you guys hear me? Sorry, my Wi-Fi is trash here. But there are other great programs. One of my sisters, she took UNDG, and they have a very structured curriculum for post-bac people, whether you're had a science major or not. There's a lot that AMCAS has on their website that you can type in what you're trying to do, and they'll help you find a program what's best for you.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at some of the bridge programs, and I was kind of deciding whether I should do a master's program or the post-bac program. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think either option works. Like the website, I'll see if I can get the link to the website that I use to find my program and put it in the messages. But bridge programs are also great because, like you said, you're taking a gap year, and most of them are like a year long. So you'll still enroll into medical school when you want to. I just say if that's not the school that you really want to go to, because I know not too many schools have bridge programs, then, it's kind of dicey, because you're going to be there for 4 years. And what I've learned also, like medical school is also like, of course, a smarts game. Like you got to be on it, you know, educationally wise, but it's also a mental challenge as well, because you're not going to be able to do the things that you want to do. Like it literally feels like your life is being uprooted. Like everything that makes you you feels like it's getting taken away, and they're like, no study. Oh, you want to go talk to your mom? No study. Oh, your friend's getting married? Too bad. Go study. Like it feels very daunting sometimes. So if you're not in an environment that you want to be in, then that can like seriously affect your grades.
Mm-hmm. How do you mentally, how do you like cope?
Um, Mainly like just talking to people that are willing to listen. Cause I feel like most of the time, at least in my case, there's not like, I don't have doctors in my family. I don't have, you know, mentors and stuff that most people have. They can talk to and they're like, oh, I can relate. Like I've been there, I've done that. Here's what you have to do. But really just talking it through with people that are listening, not even really needing a response, really, or not even needing someone to tell me what I should do in the situation, but just taking that break to like acknowledge how you feel and get it out really helps. Because yeah, if you hold it in, if you just try to push through, burnout is real. It's real. You'll get to the point. I've had classmates that we finished block one and they're so tired, they're so exhausted, they miss their old life and then they leave. You know, all their life, they've worked hard to get here. Everyone knows it's not hard to get into medical. I mean, it's not easy to get into medical school. And they get so burnt out in the first year that they're like, I don't see how I can make it 3 more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So really finding that, like I've had people, classmates, I mean, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. They do pole dancing. You know, there's a like little workout pole dancing place here, and they would find time to go do that. I have people that like to go to the dog park. I have people that like to like force themselves to read a non-medical book every month. You know, like you gotta find something that's an outlet, whatever works for you, really.
Crazy. Wow. How has your how has medical school and everything been affected by COVID and by everything that's going on?
Everything's online now at this point. So like testing, what'd you say?
Is that helpful?
Um, I feel like for most people, it's harder to stay focused because
Mm-hmm.
you know you have those people that are class goers, even though everything's online when you're in medical school, so you have the choice to go to class or not. It's taken some people a lot to get used to because you're used to being a schedule, you're used to getting up, going to a building, and now you're like in your house where you got your TV, you got your dog. Some people have their husband or wives, some people have kids, and it's just like more distractions around you.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like dynamics of taking quizzes and tests now, where you used to could just go in, log in, and take your test while you're at school. Like down to what you have next to you can have like you're a flag in their eyes of like you cheating and you're waiting to get your score. It's just like a lot of technical things that you have to do. But I mean, it's not the worst either, you know, just took some getting used to.
Mm. Wow. I think Ashley asked, when did you know you're ready to take the MCAT? Like, I know you talked about taking a gap year and, you know, that type of thing. So when did you feel like, okay, let's do it?
Never. I had to pick a date and just force myself to stick to it. Like even like the week before I started panicking, I'm like, I'm not ready. Like I need to push this back. I need to change it because I don't feel like I know enough. And even leaving the MCAT, I live in Durham. Well, I lived in Durham at the time, but the testing center was full. So I had to travel to Winston-Salem to take my test. And I believe I cried the whole way back to Durham because I thought I did horrible. I was like, I knew I wasn't ready. I didn't feel ready. I was too nervous. I cried before I walked in, and I was crying when I walked out of the testing area. So, because I mean, I feel like even when you take tests in medical school, you're always going to feel like you need to know more. Like there's always going to be that feeling of, I could have learned more. I should have learned more. But you really just have to pick a date and stick with it.
Wow. That's all my questions.
Anybody else?
I can hear my dog, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Brittany, for coming on tonight. This was very helpful.
No problem. And if you guys think of any more questions or anything, like, you can always reach out. I love helping people, especially people like us, get into medical school. And, you know, you might think of questions later. I might even, there might be things that I forgot that I did. If you ever just if you need anything, I'm here. I can help you guys out. How do you feel about going into school set on a specialty? I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician when I came into medical school. Like, no one could tell me otherwise. Nobody could tell me any different. And I feel like I had a lot of classmates that knew, like, quote unquote, knew what they wanted to go into as well. And I don't think that's a bad thing, to know what direction you want to go into. But I also say be open to different specialties, because there are going to be a lot of clubs, a lot of meetings, which they'll give you free lunch. Take advantage of that, because medical school gets crazy. Go to those, explore different specialties, explore different options, because I've completely changed my mind now. Like, I do not at all want to be a pediatrician anymore. When I just keep an open mind, even if you think you're set on it. And Ashley asked, how many practice tests do you recommend pre-meds taking before the real MCAT? I say between 3 to 5. You don't want to get burnt out taking practice tests, but you also don't want to not take enough, because like I said, it's hard sitting there through those tests. Like, forcing yourself to mimic the environment as closely as you can. Like, for me, I would get up and go to the library and go into a closed room and literally sit in the same seat, take the 30-minute break, even though you don't have to take it during the real MCAT. I recommend it. Clear your mind. It really helps with some of the stress, because after a while sitting there clicking, it feels like, time is it's never going to end, But yeah, at least 3 to 5, and I think you'll be okay. The first one, I would use it as like an idea of what you need to study more of. And then from there, just build your confidence up. Ashley asked, what practice score should someone be aiming for? And I say you should at least, as long as they keep scoring the same, most people aim 500 and above. I say you should at least be in the 490s before you take the real test. Because in my experience, I think I got a 500 once, like right before I took the very last practice test I took, I got a 500. Everything else was bouncing between like 494, 495, like just in that area. And I got 500 right before, and I ended up getting a 504 on the MCAT or 502. One of those. You usually do better on the actual test, because you're more focused, you're more in tune, because like this is what counts,
Mm-hmm.
And if no one has any more questions, like I said, always feel free to reach out. Even if you see anybody, especially at Brody, since I'm assuming everyone goes to ECU, but people at Brody are really good at any kind of advice that you need. So if you follow someone and you see Brody School of Medicine in their bio, or like you see them posting about medical school, my class was very nice and very, welcoming at giving advice about, especially about first year of medical school, because it's nothing like I expected to be. And I'm pretty sure it was like the same across the board for all my classmates. People said it wasn't anything they expected it to be like. So if you ever need advice or just someone to talk to that understands your struggle, please feel free to reach out, because it's hard out here in these streets,
I usually ask about scholarships.
There is a website that Brody has, luckily, that will keep you on track with every scholarship that there is. I feel like FAFSA also has one, like a link on their page. I can try to find it and get Kayla the information on post-bac programs, scholarships, and things like that, so she can post it to Mocha Girls in Medicine so that you guys can all have access to it. But there is a really good website where all you do is you put in what you're looking for, or like your GPA, your credentials, your race, your age, things like that. And they'll give you every single scholarship that you're eligible to apply to.
That would definitely be helpful. Yeah.
I got y'all.
Okay. Thank you, Kayla, for hosting. And thank you, Brittany, for joining us and your wisdom.
No problem. No problem. Definitely. Everyone in here, future faces of medicine right here. Just waiting on that MD.
Definitely. Okay.
Well, thank you guys for listening. I know it's not fun talking about the MCAT, but.
Yeah. Well, if that's all.
Right. Well, I look forward. Please tune in the rest of the week. We have some great speakers. Even if I know my sister's gonna do one. My fiance's gonna do one on nursing, and then there's some very great dental students that are gonna talk about, just the whole medical field in general. So we do a lot of work with everyone on the campus, which I know they don't tell you that when you're applying to medical school. Like, you're going to be hanging out with dental students, you're going to be hanging out with nursing students, you're going to be hanging out with PA students. It's a very broad, so it's nice to get their perspective on things as well, even if you're not interested in their field. So I hope you guys enjoy this week that Mocha Girls has brought you.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. You guys enjoy the rest of your week.
You too.
See ya.